parts. It's things like, every time we're talking about handing in an assignment on time, how we are using language around that instruction, around that guidance, around supporting students is, once we put it into a standard, we can reference that over and over again. And it's stuff that's already happening. There may be a few categories of things that might require some creativity and different resources, but for the most part, these are skills that most of our educators are pretty familiar with teaching. It's just a matter of making it more formal and creating some standardized language around it, so we are held accountable to it the same way we're held accountable to academic standards.
Trustee Sandy Wilson.
I want to thank you for doing this work. It's so important. And Joanna, when you talked about, we don't know what a lot of the jobs or the careers that kids are going to have in the future, but the list that we get from corporate America or any of the areas that you can go into study, so many of the most important skills they're looking for are the ones that we're going to be addressing directly and recognizing directly that this will really help our kids going out into the future. So I can't imagine the work you've done. This is just, I'm so excited about it, and I'm so grateful that we have two people and a district that is supporting this kind of work, because it's really important and it's imperative that we do this. So thank you very much. I don't have any questions. I'm just so excited about this.
Diana.
Yeah, I just want to add, kudos to you. This is brilliant, and I love how this is just integrated. And I know it's not new under the sun for teachers, but it just puts it in just such a great place. Were there any other districts in the state or the region or the country similar who are like? And did you draw from any of that, or is it?
We looked at so many examples. I will start there. I was hoping that somebody had it all figured out already, and the reality is that they don't, and what we've created stands up against any of the examples that we've seen, if not provides a greater level of detail and clarity around what we're trying to accomplish. I looked at examples from New York, examples from California, examples from all over the country where they'd attempted to do things like this, and it pretty much in most places exists like a poster, and it's really unfortunate that we don't learn as well from posters as we do from people, but we've taken that next step to make this something that we can actually execute upon.
Yeah, you're good. The only thing that I'll add, and I think you'll understand this, is as I've had an opportunity to talk to other folks across our state, as well as I had the opportunity to go down to Albuquerque, New Mexico with some state leaders, and I talked about this. What everybody said to a person is, please share that with us when you've completed it, because it's the next step in this process that most people just haven't. It's a hard one to sort of wrap your mind around. One of the other people that was instrumental in this process was Sarah Hayes. Sarah helped us tremendously with the planning and preparation and organization, much through the PLC and PLT planning process. You guys know Sarah. Sarah's with us in the room, hiding back there, but just her expertise in just how all of this works together, and this process is just instrumental. And so I think one of the other things, I say that because we're so fortunate when we take on a project like this in Bozeman Public Schools to have so many experts within our district, and also have the freedom to navigate hard things when there's not always a model. We know it's the right work, and we're going to figure it out together, and we don't always have a model we can just pull from, but we're going to keep going and figure it out.
Tracy.
Trustee Burleson, I think they're being very humble. There's not a school district that we're aware of that articulates K-12 social and academic behavioral standards, teaches them, measures them, and reports them to parents across an entire district. It doesn't happen.
I was getting that picture for sure. So I just appreciate it so much what you've done, and I hope. I mean, this is important to our students here in our district, but I hope it is something that can be shared as an example of what we've done here, because everyone can benefit. Thank you.
Sarah.
Question and then 2 comments. So just in terms of timeline, and make sure I understand this correctly, next year is a planning year, and then the following fall would be like when we would start. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have movers and shakers in every building. So as soon as these are adopted tonight, There's already the SEL teams at various elementary schools are already planning summer work around these, knowing that they want to live and breathe them early, knowing that there's going to be a representative group coming together next year to really formalize where they are specifically taught and how we're measuring them for the following year. Yes, so 26, 27 is planning. 27, 28 is full implementation with, and we'll be discussing reporting during that 27, 28. And so then the following year, changing report cards is way easier said than done. So the following year would be when you'd start seeing it on a report card.
Helps out a lot. And as somebody who's done like developing standards, this is so impressive because this is so much work. So thank you to you and your team that worked on this. And as somebody who teaches college students, can you start the communication one now? You should see the emails I get.
Greg or Gary?
I was going to make a motion. Sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I totally support this. It's a great program, and I appreciate all the work you are putting in and will have to do. I'm just curious, is part of your plan on this is to, as we educate students on this, that they apply this in school and out of school? Is that?
Yeah, in the specific phrasing for the standards, we talked a lot about that. There are some standards that might be more applicable in an educational environment and some that are more applicable in their social relationships and their relationships with their employers. And we tried to create a broadly applicable skill set that is something that we can observe and measure in school, but that they'll be able to use outside of school. And,
Motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation that as the K-12 essential behavior standards are presented.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Neal, seconded by trustee Bertelson. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Thank you guys very much for all your work. Congratulations on it. To this point, it sounds like a little bit more work as well. Patrick, as you started, so if you leave, you're doing the same thing to the rest of the people. Like, yeah. No, it's not. It's just you interpret it however you'd like. You're welcome. All right, next item, I think it's Mr. Mills, is that correct? 4.2.1, consideration of approval of board, I'm off, Bozeman High School Activities Director. Welcome,
Okay.
James.
Superintendent Bertram, trustees, thank you for having us tonight. I'm honored to be here to introduce James Maxwell, and many of you know James Maxwell. To introduce James Maxwell as our new activities director at Bozeman High, which, as you know, is a new position that we're very excited about. Very excited to augment and transform our administrative team at Bozeman High in a new direction, and all the possibilities that entails. A couple things to introduce Mr. Maxwell to this role. Those of you and everybody in this room has served on some sort of interview processes and many interview processes. In the work that I do, interviews are simultaneously probably the most important thing I do. And also they can be a bit tedious just by their very nature, because you're doing things over and over again and trying to get towards substance and trying to find the right person. They're mentally challenging. And I have a moment that I find when I'm in the middle of an interview process where I find myself being inspired and taking my own notes about things that I want to do differently at Bozeman High and things like that. And I think I point to that because there were many moments like that during the interview process with Mr. Maxwell. And we had 2 rounds of interviews for this role. And I was learning from Mr. Maxwell as we went through those interviews. And that's how I really ultimately knew that he was the right person for this leadership position at Bozeman High. One of those things that I learned, obviously we know that Mr. Maxwell is an excellent manager of activities, an excellent organizer of activities, knows everything about Bozeman High and everything like that. What really shined during the interview process was Mr. Maxwell's passion for activities, his passion for competition, what that means for student participants, student athletes, students in speech and debate, students in drama and fine arts, etc. And so those were really some of those interesting interview moments that I found where I was learning from Mr. Maxwell about what he cares deeply about and what he sees happening on the field, the court, and stage, and how that could translate to this position. I happened to just look up Mr. Maxwell's resume again today just to get some of the timeline on how exactly long he's been at Bozeman High and things like that. And one of the things that struck me is, resumes themselves are bullet points, but there's nothing that's a bullet point about James's resume. It's all of depth and substance. He's been an English teacher and a very good one for a very long time. And that speaks to this position in terms of how well he knows students and what it means to be a student, how important it is to be a student. There's no part of Mr. Maxwell that says athletics first or fine arts first or anything like that. It is the composite picture of a student participant. And then the last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it over to the trustees because I know you probably want to speak to Mr. Maxwell. But I think there's a really important part of Bozeman High that is the confluence of past and future. So this weekend, when I spoke at our graduation, I point out that this is our 126th commencement ceremony. I really think that's important, and I think it's important to embrace the past. And Mr. Maxwell understands that past and understands history of Bozeman High. And yet at the same time, I've not met another faculty member that has a more nimble, flexible, progressive mindset, always looking to look at things differently, whether that's my work with James in the activities realm or in NHS or in the English classroom itself, always looking at things in a different way and a different light. And so I think in that way, Mr. Maxwell is really poised to be part of Bozeman High's future, and I'm excited for next year, what our admin team will look like, what it'll mean for our student participants to have this new role there on site. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you and to Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. James, do you have anything you want to say to begin with, or you want some questions thrown at you and comments?
You can probably just ask me questions. It's easier for me that way. I mean,
All right.
that way I won't ramble. I may still, but we'll see.
That's fair enough.
All right.
Well, I would just, comment-wise, I would just start off with, I've seen you for, your athletic, position that you've been in for the last few years. The amount of work that you've done, to me, is really amazing. I really appreciate all your efforts there. I really look forward to, although I know Mr. Ader did a great job in the role that he was tasked with, and he had, I'm really excited about seeing this and having two athletic directors at each school, then being able to concentrate specifically on their school, create that culture that they believe in. I think actually I was thinking of what Mr. Mills said regarding the 126 years and graduations that Bozeman High's had. But that looks different than what it did 126 years ago, or 6 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. And I think there's an opportunity there at this point in time to create some different cultures and different thoughts, and then support. And I think you have the skill set to go support the coaches in a different manner than they have been able to in the last few years. So I'm excited for this role that it gives not only for you, but also for Mr. Ader to really, and also be in the same building on a more regular basis. I understand that there's a component for SMS and CJ for Mr. Ader, but I think that's going to be an amazing thing. So I'm really excited about this transition, and I think you're going to be a great fit for this position. So if there's any questions or comments from trustees.
Yeah, I would just, I was thrilled to get this recommendation. Mr. Maxwell, you're the definition of, at least from my perspective, of humble, and I see you doing lots and lots of things behind the scenes that nobody really understands happen, that have to happen cutting grass and refereeing soccer and just I mean, there's a whole sea of examples of things that I've seen you doing over the years that you just do what it takes to keep the ship moving forward. And I just think you're the perfect person for this position. Institutional knowledge that you have, you understand the campus better than really almost anyone in some ways. And so I just think it's going to be a great fit. And I don't know how many interviews there were, but there was only one that was needed, in my opinion. I just think it's a great recommendation. So thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Sarah?
And as one of your future middle school parents, I'm so excited to be working with you at SAC.
Thank you. I feel bad that I didn't say anything, but I mean, I'm honored to take the position. It was, you know, I don't know. I took a unique path here. I think I took a fairly atypical path into the AD route. You know, I've been teaching English for quite a while. I was up at MSU, and Godfrey called me to said they had overflow in junior English. And that's how I ended up at Bozeman High. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I always wanted to get in there. I think the biggest part for me throughout all of this is I've had probably the best mentorship that I think I've experienced. I joke with people, it's true, and that might be where some of the work ethic comes from, is I seem to have this weird habit of following people who set these impossible standards. I mean, you know, Ann Sullivan was a legendary debate coach, right? And to even begin to try to step into those shoes as to coach debate was I don't even know why I took that on. You know, Scott McDonald was the AD that hired me, and that dude was there when every bus took off and every bus got back. I mean, I've worked with great ADs. Randy Russell was a great AD, and when I heard he applied for the job too, I was like, oh, okay. So he was the AD for most of the time I was there. And Mark's been a great mentor as well. So it's been being able to learn from people. I'm excited to work with our admin team at Bozeman High School. I'm nervous to leave the classroom. I mean, it'll be a grieving process. I know that. It's been a long time that I've been. It's weird to think about. You know, Christian Landers was up here. And when I got the position, I said to the AP kids and all my kids, I said, well, yeah, you're the last AP kids I'm teaching, I guess, and that kind of stuff. And it's definitely bittersweet. I miss it. I don't know if you've ever seen my classroom at Bozeman High. It's hard to leave that space. Thankfully, another English teacher is going to take that over, and we can continue the legacy of, you know, all sorts of creative things on the walls and stuff like that. But I look forward to it. It's a great new challenge. I think I'm excited to see things differently, to be on the other end. I'm nervous about, you know, as you guys have pointed out and know, I do enjoy being behind the scenes a lot, and this position will require me to step out from behind that, definitely. So that'll be a challenge for me and a unique one, but I look forward to it. I think the time I've spent, as I said, with my mentors and work leading up to this has prepared me in a unique way, I think, to do this position. And hopefully I can live up to the expectations. That's my goal. So thank you.
And what do you look forward to most?
What I look forward to the most is I like the environment. I like the game environment. I like being around it. I like being outside a lot, which is not to say I hate winter sports necessarily, but I do. I mean, it's been great this spring. Baseball was a lot of fun. It was a nerve-wracking experience to think of a new sport, but it went about as smoothly as I think anybody could have expected it to go. And it was a lot of fun, right? Being out at that park and that landscape. I love the fact. I look forward to the views that we have at our games too. Like, I haven't been to a venue, either Gallatin or Bozeman, where it's a bad view when we're participating in games. And I look forward to new and deeper relationships with coaches as well as kids. And I thought about when I came into this position, the biggest thing is being around sports, right? It has a great tendency to bring out the best in people. Activities in general do. It also has a tendency to bring out some of the worst in people, so I look forward to being able to sort of help cultivate a place where it's mostly the best and minimize the worst, I guess, is what I'm up to. That's it. Thanks.
All right,
I'd like
oh,
to
go ahead.
make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to appoint James Maxwell as the Bozeman High School Activities Director effective July 1st of 2026.
Second?
Motion made by trustee Moran, seconded by trustee D. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Thanks, Dan.
Item 5, board discussion, 5.1, policy reading, 5.1.1. Mr. Waterman.
Good evening, trustees. A pretty short proposed policy change for you to review tonight. 5315 is one of our HR policies. It says currently that our temporary employees will be paid in accordance with our classified employees, and they're just in different groups. Our temporary employees are our substitutes and our overflow paraprofessionals, so you can know specifically who we're talking about. Those groups are exempted from the classified unit, so accordingly, they aren't paid the same. The other change we've got in here is the Human Resources Office. We just moved that to, or proposing to move that to the superintendent or designee, consistent with what we've done in other policies. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions or any comments from trustees? No graph and you have no questions. Maybe note that in the future, Mike. If you don't bring graphs, you won't have any questions. All right, 5.2, honor 2025-26 administrative retirees. Casey.
Sarah and Pat, come on down.
Is this when we cue put one shining moment?
Yeah. This is a discussion item and not an action item because we're hopeful that they'll change their mind. In front of you are two incredible administrators, incredible people that have served our district for over 50 years combined. And so it's hard to really quantify the impact of that many years in pivotal positions. I'll start with Sarah, 32 years in Bozeman Public Schools, high school English, math teacher, high school assistant principal, district curriculum coordinator, longtime elementary principal at Emily Dickinson, and then more recently, a very behind the scenes but pivotal role as a district admin PLC coach. People get better on Sarah's watch, period. And I worked with her as an elementary principal. The pride she had in her teachers and her parents and her community and the work she did there to create a model PLC was transformative. And then watching her behind the scenes coaching our principals, coaching my executive team, coaching me. She is a great thought partner, and she's always looking for ways to move the district forward. And the way she does that is with humility, with grace. She always makes it feel like it's your idea, and just has a incredible work ethic, and sets the bar really high for herself and everyone she comes in contact with. So we're going to miss her, and we're going to find a way to get her back here in a coaching role. I'll move to Pat. I told Pat we were going to, this was a celebrity roast. It's really not. Pat's been with the district for 25 years, assistant principal at Bozeman High, moved over to the HR office during a trying time and with challenges going on at the district level, and has been the HR director for 19 years. What I can tell you is that there is no other district I'm aware of that has built a ongoing positive relationship with the unions like Pat has been able to masterfully create. He learned the consensus process and has taught so many others about it. And we are, all the big things this district has done in the past 20 years, big decisions have been made in circles, largely facilitated or coached by Pat Strauss. And so his fingers are all over moving to a second high school, all over any of the big things that we've talked about. It was people facilitating well, and Pat's a master facilitator. I think the other thing that stands out to me is we have sometimes we almost to our detriment, sometimes we have the most flexible and humane HR approach. And so when teachers are feeling a bit burned out, or they want to try a new adventure, or they want to try the private sector, Pat has facilitated relationships and policies where we just let those folks go try that out, and we save their job for them. And a lot of them come back and are so grateful for that opportunity. And while it creates one-year-only positions and challenges, it's like a human-first approach to everything that we do. Also, very interesting, as we've learned that we've had to create a structure where we have to have two people moving forward, doing the work that Pat has been doing, and he's been, and that has been challenging for Pat to see me as a superintendent blow up the org chart. And next year we will not have a director of human resources. You could approach that in a bunch of different ways, and once Pat understood that what we were doing with the business side of things with Lacey, and what we were doing with the human side of things with Mars, he has been nothing but gracious and supportive. And in recent months, we've called him Professor Pat, because there are so many things in HR that have happened behind a closed door, with people in their darkest moments, that doesn't get written down, it's not in a file somewhere. And so Pat has been teaching and training all of us on the executive team, and telling stories, but mostly just in passing on all that incredible knowledge. And he's, between Sarah and Pat, leaving a legacy, leaving it better than you found it, all those things that we hope we do with our careers, they've nailed it.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate all those comments. I'll just start, kick us off a little bit maybe, but Sarah, I've seen you mostly at the elementary school, but have known you for a long time. Just appreciate your approach. How you treat people is most notable to me. And then I would also say just seeing, just go back to the elementary time, seeing you, I mean, how much, you're smiling right now, but that was you every day, seeing those kids come in the door, and that was your why. And then getting or at least to me, that seemed like your why, and then getting them to the best point that they could be, and helping everybody around you to help them or lift them to the next spot. So I appreciate that, as well as your kindness, and truthfulness in many of the different conversations we had, because I had the opportunity to be a liaison at your school. So I appreciate that. I think that was right around COVID, so that was exciting too, right? For all of us. And then Pat, I've had the opportunity to be on not only a few different committees, but there was a transition, and where you're being a part of that, and the consensus and your ability to bring people together and communicate and get us to a point of a thumbs up or a thumbs down is amazing. And then also to get to the point, I think, or part of your skill set is getting to people past the fear. And I think you described that perfectly in those situations where that's what you're trying to and we get those out. There's a process for it, but it needs somebody to be able to get those people to trust what the process is going to be. So I appreciate those things. And then I think we have a little bit of banter every once in a while up here. And I think we all get into it a little bit, and appreciate those relationships that we have. So appreciate for everything that you've done. Both of you have done for our district for many years. So grateful. Thank you. Sandy, you push the microphone first. That's how it works, right? You're following instructions.
Well, Sarah, I mean, I knew you personally on the tennis court before, and then I have watched over my, I think it's 12 years that I've been on the board, how you have given selflessly to acts of helping teachers, helping admin, serving students for all these years in so many different capacities. And while you have certainly earned this time in your life to retire and to move on and to do something else, you will be sorely missed. And I love what Casey said about both of you are leaving the place better and in a really good spot for the next people to come in, and that says a lot about you too. Pat, I have served in many circles with you, and it's been expressed what that's like. I cannot tell you. I remember the first time when I walked into a negotiation, and I used to negotiate in a small rural school, and I looked around the room, and I'm like, I see HR sitting next to the union rep, the president, and then I'm looking around. There's admin. There's all of these things in this circle going all the way around, and then to get to the final result of doing what's best for the district and teachers serving that, I saw that happen over and over and over again. The gift that you have for that is incredible, and I've told that story so many times. And I wish you your best. Maybe you'll come back and do a circle or two, like in your retirement. That would be wonderful. I would love to be a part of that. But I can't thank both of you enough for how you've served our kids and our teachers in our district. Thank you very much.
Gary?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said. This is kind of a bittersweet moment, but you both certainly deserve to move on to whatever you want to do. And Sarah, I hope you have time to support our softball team. Yeah, it's just watching you through the years and your focus on students and doing the right thing and being in different positions and stuff is very much appreciated, and wish you all the best. Pat, I was early on the board when we started getting into consensus process, and that the strength of that in our district is because of you. And I think how you've managed and facilitated those meetings and just to bring people together is a very special skill. So it's much appreciated, and it's a process that I'm a strong advocate for. And hopefully we can continue that and move it on in good fashion. So congratulate both of you. And good luck with whatever you're going to do next.
Diana?
Well, I can't put it any better than what Casey and Sandy and Gary have shared, how much you've just dedicated and how much you've done for the district. And I hope that at this point that you have some time to really take in. Like, it's hard when you're in the thick of work to really see what it is that you're doing. Like, I know that you know, but now that you're stepping away, I hope it really sinks in just the exponential impact both of you have had on so many people. And I will always be grateful for everything you've done. So thank you.
Casey?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's on your radar. We have a district-wide celebration tomorrow right here, 4 to 5 for Pat and Sarah, and then a week from tomorrow, we have the administrator picnic at Story Mill Park, 5:30 to 7, and we'll be talking about them again. And also, as I've mentioned, we continually learn. I learn from Pat and Sarah, and so I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have anything you want to say, I'm particularly interested in advice you have for us moving forward. Yeah.
Now's my chance. Well, I have to say that this is very uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't like being the center of attention, but I appreciate all your kind words. And I also realized, I never realized 16 years in when I came into central office and I watched the trustees come, and the amount of time that you guys dedicate is unreal. And that is why we have such an amazing district, is because of all the time and dedication so many people give and your support of the schools. So I appreciate all of that. I've known so many of you so much of my life that I can't tell you how much we all appreciate the district that you help us create and that you support through everything you do. I can't believe I was 32 years in. Like, how can I possibly be that old? That's the thing that really bothers me the most, is that I've been doing this for 32 years. But I've had an amazing career, and I've learned from so many people, and I've been blessed to work with so many amazing people. And so my advice would be just to keep learning and knowing. It's been so fun the last couple years to be in so many buildings and work with so many people, see their style, see what they're doing. I hope you continue to get those opportunities to work with our teacher teams and our admin teams, because there aren't any better people around. So thank you. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo some of what Sarah said. Thank you so much for the kind comments. It's been an honor to work for this school district for 25 years. I have to acknowledge my wife, Kelly. So I don't know if you know this, but facilitators need a facilitator. And Kelly's been my steadfast facilitator and my go-to person when things aren't always going well and when they are going really well. So thanks for being here, Kelly. You know, I think what makes this district so unique has come a lot from the Board of Trustees. Your steadfast stewardship of this district has just been amazing. I feel very grateful that you guys have embraced the consensus process. I think that's one of the big things that sets us apart from most of the places anywhere, not just in Montana. The other thing I would say, I don't know that it's advice, it's just reflection, but you've got just an amazing executive cabinet, amazing administrators, amazing teachers, and I guess I hope that the contribution I've made, as Casey said earlier, is, you know, my goal was just always to make this a place where people want to be, and they are proud to be a part of it, and it takes a team to do that. And I would also say that this style of leadership that we've adopted in the Bozeman School District, it puts a lot on the folks in this room. It's not easy because we get to hear all the good things, but we also purposely seek out what's not working out. And that's not easy to hear as a leader. And kudos to Casey and Mike and Lacey and Mike and Patrick and Marilyn for their ability to listen to the hard things, take that in, and make positive changes out of it. And I think that's what's helped us be an amazing district. So thank you.
Greg.
Yeah, I just wanted, I don't have, a lot of things have been said, but I have to say that I've been saying for years, I didn't know what consensus was when I showed up here in 2017, and I learned it through sitting on the committees and living it, and since then, especially when I entered into board leadership, I would say the words often, we are a consensus-based school district, and I fully, at that point, started to really understand what that means. And so as far as just a hard footprint and legacy that you're leaving that really changed a large, substantial institution forever, you've done a lot of things, Pat, but that's, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but that's a huge one. And it's just so important. And it just goes without saying that the school district would not be what it is without consensus and without you leading that for decades, really. So great job. I can't say enough. It's amazing what you're leaving. So thank you. Sarah, thanks for everything. I had your mom for English. It's amazing how the kids get older and you and I don't. So I just love how that works. Anyway, thank you for everything to both of you.
I just want to thank both of y'all. Sarah, I've encountered you quite a few times delivering Apple Awards or Spark Grants to your schools at Emily Dickinson, and you were always so welcoming and positive and a refreshing face. And I remember when Greg and Casey had my trustee orientation, and Greg and Casey said, well, we do a consensus process here. And I was like, okay, I'll figure out what that is later on. And fortunately, I was able to sit on teacher negotiations last year with you. And it was amazing to see all those people come together in a final process. So thank y'all both for everything.
Lauren.
I'll wrap it up. First of all, Sarah, I was doing the math and I'm thinking my brother was in one of your I know he had you, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was one of your first classes and you kept teaching. No, he was a good kid. To both of you, I met you before I was on the board, either through the schools or sitting on a committee, and learned a ton from both of you. And not to repeat what everybody has said, but I completely agree with each thing. Sarah, you always have a smile on your face and give 100%, 120%. And it is always very evident that you have the kids in the center of the room and that you're trying to lift up teachers and build people up and build systems that build those people up. And so I do hope that you're able to step back and see the legacy that you've left. And thank you for having the growth mindset to do all those different jobs and learn new jobs. And as you worked your way into retirement, to take on a huge task that had you in so many buildings throughout the district. So thank you. And Pat, I know I said after my first consensus committee, I'm going to start using this in my marriage and everywhere else. I love the consensus process. This is great. So everybody needs to know this. But you break down walls and you help people face their fears in a group setting, which I think is, just even say it out loud sounds crazy because so many people are so protective of themselves. And like Sandy said, you walk into this room and you see all these people and you're like, how is this going to work? And I remember my very first one when you said it's, slow to go fast. And I walked out and my husband's like, what did you decide today or whatever? And I was like, not much, but I got a way that we're going to talk in our marriage now. Like, this is great. We're going to keep moving. But your dedication to not only the consensus process, but then I have heard you during negotiations and stuff talk about the experiences you have of taking our employees one-on-one with their situation. We have people who have battled cancer, parents that are fearful because they have children and cost of living and all these things. And you really do put the human in human resources, and that you don't just sit behind a computer and look at numbers. You knew those each individual and really humanize them, and that is really important. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys. Sarah, I did actually just think of one more thing for you to share, is that I think both Greg and I were Emerson's mice. The principal at that time was Nani Hughes. And whenever I see her, she still talks to me and she still sees me, and that's the impact that elementary principals can have. And I see that as you in the future, of people running into you and talking to you about when you were a principal. So I know that stands out for me every time I see her. One, that she actually remembers who I am. And then probably the bigger thing is why I had lunch with her, because I probably did something wrong. So definitely not an award. Mr. Curtis does not like it when you tell kids to go when he didn't do it. So, okay. All right. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate everything you've done. Have a good night. All right, now we have 5.3, discussion of 2025-26 Long Range Strategic Plan Annual Report. Casey.
Thank you. Reminder, this is the annual report, which is a looking back endeavor around all the things that happened this year in relationship to our long-range strategic plan. Let's see. I'm going to, this is a long meeting, and I'm going to give you the highlights, knowing that a couple things I want to tell you. Scroll up just a little bit so that blue table is, yeah, right there. In this document, you have the 5-year plan and the district goals, grade level reading, graduation, PLCs, early literacy, staff well-being, student well-being, and profile of a graduate. We have completed the write-ups, and we have the data for all of them except the student well-being goal. So the youth risk behavior survey data from OPI is not ready to be released. They released it once, it had some errors, and they're fixing the errors, and so I don't have viable data there. So when this comes back as an action item, we'll have that in there. Also, number 2, school site action plans. I think another thing that's unique in Bozeman Public Schools is we live and breathe the long-range strategic plan. It's more than a document or a binder, and so our principals are actively thinking about their goals at the end of the year and documenting those. Our conversations that we have with principals 3 times a year get really deep into the weeds, and we talked about individual kids, and there's lots of data charts in there with kids' names all over them. And so it's a cleanup process right now where our principals are taking those documents, removing all the student names, getting them ready for public consumption, and that will be ready at the next meeting as well. So those links are not live. Mike, hang with me, and we will run through this. We'll go goal by goal, and I'll just give the highlights. Keep going to the next page. Grade level reading. There's a graph. Scroll down a little bit more. Yeah, right there. As you can see, our grade level reading data using Acadience in 3rd grade is fairly flat. We have a slight trend line moving up. What you see moving significantly is the multilingual English learner component. And so it's a similar situation that I shared last year. Many of those multilingual English learners are coming in at level 1 or level 2. It takes them many years to get up to proficiency on the English language. So they have a very low percentage of proficiency on the Acadience reading assessment, while at the same time we're holding steady. And so we are, for our non-MLEL population, we are actively closing achievement gaps there. Scroll down a little bit. We are also a district that celebrates but also talks about our challenges. And so while we have 3/4 of our kids proficient, we know that our students with IEPs, multilingual English learners, and our students with free and reduced lunch are disproportionately a part of our achievement gap. And the driving reason that I come to work every day is to close that achievement gap and provide equitable opportunities to all of our kids. So we have lots to celebrate with this, and we know that we have more work to do. This is just, there are multiple ways to measure reading, formally and informally. And so we have Acadience data, we have Ames Web Plus data at our middle schools. You'll notice anytime we're comparing Acadience to Ames Web, it's an apples and oranges thing. And so Ames Web is set at the 25th percentile as proficient, and Acadience, depending on the grade level, is higher than that. And so there's a bit of a disconnect there. But the long story short is we're seeing strong achievement in literacy across the K-12 grade bands. The MAST assessment is new. It's problematic. We're doing what we can to share that at the state level, and so we're not putting a lot of stock in those data points at this point. ACT, as you recall last year, and we'll get to that, highest ACT scores literacy-wise ever in Bozeman Public Schools history at the high school level. This year, quite strong as well. Okay, you can keep going. This is the ACT thing. I wanted to spend a little time on this. You got 3 colors. The ACT has been around forever, but in 2015 it became the state test, which means all juniors had to take it. Before that, you could choose if you wanted to take the ACT. So so for the first time, we had all kids take it 2015-16. You have 4 years there before COVID, and it was a traditional schedule in one high school. Our average proficiency was 69%. You move to post-COVID, you have a traditional schedule. We moved to 2 high schools. Some people in our community thought the sky was falling because we had opened a second high school. We bumped up to 71% proficient in our literacy scores. Then you move post-COVID, block schedule, 2 high schools, the last 2 years, average 76%. It's the highest proficiency we've ever seen on record in Bozeman Public Schools on the ACT. So change is really, really hard, and we have navigated that change process. You have navigated that change process extremely well. We're doing well. This is that same time period and the multilingual English learner percentage for just juniors. And so you can see that bar is up and to the right. When we were talking pre-COVID, one high school, around 1% of our learners were multilingual English learners. And now we're bumping up district-wide, approaching 10%, but in this junior class, it was approaching 4% this year. Okay, graduation, we've already talked about this. I won't spend time on this as well. We've also there was a lot of fears around moving to a block schedule, having hawk time, prime time, kids having holes in their schedule, all those pieces of the puzzle. Highest cohort graduation rate ever in the history of Bozeman Public Schools. First time ever over 90% graduation rate. If you scroll down, it highest in the AAs. Approaching that trend line, that blue trend line. We're closing the gap on our target of 95%, and people thought 95% was a crazy stretch goal. And we are working tirelessly, and we feel like we will get there in the next few years. That's graduation rate compared to multilingual English learner population, and it's extremely challenging for a high school junior to show up in Bozeman and be a level 1 English learner and stick around. And so we're doing a lot of things to keep them engaged and keep them in the building and provide them a high quality education and positively impact our graduation rate. That shows that we have some achievement gap issues. Our IEP students, multilingual English learner and free and reduced lunch, have lower graduation rates. PLCs, when you put PLCs, the collaboration part, and you braid it together with multi-tiered systems of support, it's just become what we do. It's the foundation and the instructional framework now in every single school in Bozeman, which is exciting, and we're moving closer to our goal of having all schools qualifying as model PLC schools and becoming a model PLC district. We added Whittier most recently, and so six of our 12 schools are there. Early literacy. While we're not seeing a significant increase in the percentage of students who are walking in our doors proficient as kindergarteners, we are getting our hands on more and more of those students. And so that also shows the impact of multilingual English learners over the last few years. 11%, 10% of our kindergarteners, English is not their first language. And so there's challenges associated with that. As you know, Megan Roth has been working tirelessly at the Bozeman Reads Early Learning Center and then also in the community. And the data coming out of Morningstar this year it's wild. Keep going, Mike. So 52%, there was a lot of instruction. So to get into that program, you get flagged on one or more subtests during the summer. They qualify you for the program. A bunch of instruction happens like on day one, and by the time they got to assessment, period, they had over half those kids showing up proficient. And then by the end of the year, for a population defined by having lagging literacy skills, 82% of those kids this spring in those Morningstar classrooms proficient on Acadians. And that number increased. We went from 4 classrooms to 5. We're moving from 5 to 7 next year, so we'll literally have our hands on 126 students in our community. Their parents will have no-cost preschool with school lunch and transportation and all the things that go with it, which is exciting. There's a lot of things Megan's doing behind the scenes, and we're actually, to kind of cement this change, the Bozeman Reads Early Learning Center is up and running. We're expanding to Irving, and we're moving Megan physically out of the space. So she's coming to the Wilson next year and will be 100% focused on this external, working with different programs in the community. So she quietly, behind the scenes, partnered with Montana State University and Dr. Christine Lux and the Early Childhood Program, and created the Gallatin Early Learning Fellows, 15 to 20 educators across 3 school districts, 6 private child care facilities, and HRDC Head Start. Had 5 intensive training sessions with Megan and Christine Lux. Then she pushed in and did coaching and resource injection and helped them with curriculum, and she's become a go-to professional in the community for those folks. She's providing low barrier community access to our screenings. So we used to have it, you had to come to our schools, and now she's going to where our populations are at. And so screenings at, like, in the Wheat Suites run by HRDC, at the marketplace on the HRDC community campus, so that they don't have to worry about transportation and logistical barriers. And then she created, some of you were at the Community Coalition, brought all the anybody who has access or working with young people in the pre-K space, and had them really take ownership of what they were currently doing, what they're going to do, and the sky's the limit there in terms of bringing our community together around early childhood, and it's pretty exciting, pretty exciting. Okay, Mike, keep going. Staff well-being, I can tell you that this has been somewhat of it's been challenging. It's been challenging for our administrative team in particular, that for a variety of reasons, some of them hard to quantify, we continue to have staff reporting what we feel like are pretty low levels of well-being across our schools. And it's been a disconnect for our principals to look at on every measurable thing you can imagine. They're off the charts. Student achievement, they're winning awards, our kids are highly involved in things. And then when you take these anonymous survey data, it's showing up lower. And so we are giving our principals training from Panorama on how to navigate that, on how to set measurable goals that are realistic. We're also going to be working with the union. We have a desire to do 2 things. One, to make the survey non-anonymous, because we have a bunch of people that care about this data deeply, and when there's anonymous comments and we don't know where it's coming from and we can't help, it's causing a lot of frustration. So we're going to be exploring moving away from anonymous. We're also going to be exploring making this data more public. And we have seen situations in other school districts where I don't think our community knows, in some of our really high-performing buildings, that the adults within the building are saying that their staff well-being is quite low. And so we want to be more transparent around that, and we've also seen in communities that when you get more transparent around that, that data starts to change pretty quickly. The important thing is we are making progress, 65 to 69, if you scroll down a little bit. We scroll down just to that table there. Panorama was finally able to provide us within their normative sample, like what is significant growth? Is moving from 65 to 69 a big deal? and this says it is. So we have about 650 folks that take the survey on any given survey administration. So 2 to 3% would be significant growth. We made 4%, and so it is significant. We are making significant progress. Okay, keep going. Keep going. I've unpacked this via email and other ways. Student well-being, we'll get that for the next time we meet. That YRBS data, I'm very interested in what that is going to say. Keep going. Profile of a graduate is everything we talked about earlier this evening. We have next steps. You approved the standards this evening, and then we're going to keep moving that process forward next year. Keep going. These are those site-based action plans where if you want to get into the weeds on what does panorama data look like at any given school, or reading data, or what are we doing with multilingual English learners, those are like, they've become like now 30, 40-page documents for each building, give very detailed action plans on what they're doing. Those will all get linked before this gets approved. And then the final section has all of the school board luncheon dates, the presentations that were given, the data sheets associated with that. As a reminder, this becomes, once you approve it, it goes on the website. It becomes part of the historical archive for the long-range strategic plan. And then later this summer, while this is a looking back endeavor, I'll be bringing you the 26-27 long-range strategic plan, 5-year plan. I can give you a little spoiler alert that the theme for last year was massive action. And as you recall, that document was long, and that little new button showed up everywhere because we were doing so many things to achieve these goals. I can tell you that as we've met as an executive team, we're not launching anything new. And so it is, the theme is stay the course, and we're just doubling down on all those items that are already there and digging deeper with them. So I think it's been refreshing to our school sites and teachers to know that, hey, there's not 5 new things that they have to get trained on in the fall. We're actually, other than the profile of the graduate work, we're not adopting any major curriculum changes, assessment changes, professional development changes. It's just stay the course. That's it.
Thank you. Greg?
Just say, love it. Stay the course. Thanks for everything.
I just want to say, wow. This report is comprehensive. Any questions that I may have, I know I'll be able to eventually tap into a link or whatever. It's very comprehensive. I just feel like you do a really good job of covering all the bases for us in a way that we can understand it and access any data that we want. So thanks, Casey.
Gary?
Yeah, thank you, Casey and team, for this. And I love this information and how it's going, so much appreciated. One question I have is, have you gotten any feedback from the principals and teachers for our board luncheons, if they're okay with the format we're using? And
Yeah, I think they've, 2 things. I think they've liked the flexibility to change the time of day. That works better in the schedule. They've appreciated that. And then I also think they were less, you probably noticed they were less scripted. They looked a little different in each building. And so we encouraged them to share the things tied to the long-range strategic plan that were important to them. And I think they did a great job of that. Yep.
Any other comments? All right. Bill, thanks, Casey. Thanks for all the time. And also, I'm sure that I know you do a lot with this, but also everybody else that's putting their time and effort in there. So I appreciate it. Mars, I think you just got rid of our only public comment. Yeah, that's public comment. It's as good as it's going to get for us tonight, I believe. So I guess item 6, public comment. See, told you. All right, item 7, reports. Do we have any executive cabinet reports?
Trustees, next Wednesday and Thursday, School Funding Interim Commission meets again. It's my understanding there'll be 3 more meetings before we wrap up in September with some recommendations. I'm hopeful that they'll start moving towards some actual concrete recommendations. We'll see what happens with that, but interesting couple days to come.
Thank you. Anything else? Mars? Oh, okay. 7.2, Board of Trustees request calendar, concerns, reports, future items, open meeting topics for next meeting. Gary?
Yes, Leon and I will be attending the MTSBA annual meeting, which will be is Wednesday morning. And I plan on tuning into the School Funding Interim Commission next week as well. So I thank Mike for your service on that. And so we can give a report on the MTSBA thing once it's over. So.
Last week, Leona and I went to the Bridger Charter Academy honoring of the seniors day. That was their classmates honored them, and they did great activities out there. And then I found out that what's the teacher's AP history teacher who does the 60s? His name, Derek Strawn. Derek Strawn was. I had never been to this. So I wandered over there, and I had such a blast. There were kids. A kid brought in a motor of a 1965 Mustang that he'd been working on, and there was a band of kids that put themselves together and were singing 60s and 70s. I won, and then there was a booth that was doing art, had done artwork in the 60s, and I won a Creedence Clearwater T-shirt. Handmade by a BHS student. So anyway, I had a blast doing that. I had never heard of that what he did at the end of the year, and he's been doing it for years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, I'm going next year. It was a blast. I was kind of embarrassed at how I used to dress when I saw. Oh, the white eyeshadow.
No comment from the peanut gallery,
okay.
please. All right, anything else? All right, well, I would just say thank you to everybody that was showing up for the last couple weeks. I know we've had multiple different things, and we might have a couple other things the rest of this week as well, so before school's over. So thank you for your support. All right, I adjourn this meeting.